Hello, lovies. Welcome to the Be Yourself Unapologetically podcast. It's been a while. There's a lot of things that have been going on. And I thought about doing this episode over and over again. So tonight is going to be quite heavy. So if there's might be things that might trigger you as well. So I'm just giving you a pre-warning. So the title of tonight's podcast is When Protection Costs You a Friendship. So today's episode is one I've gone back and forth on recording, not because I don't know what happened, not because I'm ashamed, but because some losses don't arrive with shouting or slam doors. Some arrive quietly. 40 years of friendship and then silence. I want to say from the beginning that this episode isn't about revenge, blame, or convincing anyone to pick a side. It's about what happens when two people experience the same event in completely different ways. And what happens when your role as a parent collides with your role as a friend. Years ago, our children grew up together, shared memories, shared milestones, ordinary life, the kind of friendship where you assume history equals safety. You never imagine one day sitting opposite professionals discussing safeguarding. You never imagine words like disclosure, police involvement, counselling. You never imagine your child becoming frightened, confused, withdrawn, or carrying emotions they don't have language for. And you never imagine your oldest friend believing none of it. When my daughter told me what she experienced, I was put into an impossible situation, not because protecting her was difficult, because that part wasn't difficult. The difficult part was understanding that protecting her might cost us everything else. People sometimes imagine safeguarding means punishment. It doesn't. Safeguarding means taking concerns seriously enough to ask questions. It means adults stepping in. It means saying, I cannot ignore this. Police become involved, not because we wanted destruction, not because we wanted headlines, not because we wanted court. In fact, we chose not to pursue court. There was history there. Children who had grown up together, lives already tangled together. But choosing not to go to the court didn't mean nothing happens. And I think some people sometimes misunderstand that. Not every wound ends in a courtroom. Not every hurt comes with a guilty verdict. Some experiences leave emotional consequences regardless. My daughter paid for this in ways nobody sees. Counselling, trying to untangle confusion, trying to understand trust, trying to recover confidence, trying to process being doubted. And one of the hardest things wasn't strangers. It was losing people she thought cared. There were messages, threats, pressure. The kind of atmosphere where suddenly the person already hurting starts questioning themselves. That kind of thing leaves marks, not always visible ones. And what broke my heart most, it wasn't anger. It was watching my daughter wonder if speaking up had been a mistake. I mean, that sentence alone should stop all of us, because silence becomes easier when speaking costs too much. As a parent, I question myself constantly. Did I do the right thing? Did I overreact? Did I ruin lives? Could I have handled it differently? But here's what I've learned. You can survive people being angry with you. You can survive losing friendships. What you don't want to carry is knowing your child came to you and you turned away because it was uncomfortable. That I couldn't live with. And then there was my friend, 40 years of memories, and she believes we lied. That sentence still feels strange to say, because I kept wanting to explain, to provide more details, to somehow produce a magical piece of evidence that makes grief disappear. But I've realised something difficult. Sometimes people don't reject your experience because they hate you. Sometimes they reject it because accepting it would change how they see their own world and their own child, their memories, and their identity as a parent. That doesn't make it any easier, but it stopped me exhausting myself trying to win a trial that only existed emotionally. I don't need everyone to agree with me to know I protected my child, and my daughter does not need universal belief to deserve support. So if you're listening and you've ever lost people because you chose to protect someone vulnerable, I see you. If someone has called you dramatic, dishonest, destructive, difficult, I see you. If your child has spoken and your world split into a before and after, I see you too. And if you're grieving someone who is still alive, that grief is real. 40 years doesn't disappear. You don't just lose the person. You lose future birthdays, old jokes, shared history, the version of life you thought you'd have. But I'd rather grieve a friendship than grieve knowing my child felt alone. Thank you for listening. This has been Be Yourself Unapologetically. Take care of yourself, and remember, protecting someone and hating someone are not the same thing. Sometimes love looks like doing the hardest thing anyway.